What's up, everybody? It's your boy Andrew Esquire here at The Legal Mindset. We teach you to be your own judge. Good to be back. I know it's late night here for y'all on the East Coast, but no matter what time it is, whether it's morning, evening, or night, I'm glad to be here. Good to see you. Good to see all y'all in the house tonight. What is going on, everybody in the chat? And all, of course, the degenerates. Oh, man, I forgot to hit enter on that. Shit happens. Hold on. Locals will be up in like 2 seconds. What the fuck? Okay. Yeah, YouTube is doing some new weird shit. They're like adding new features and stuff. I don't like it. I don't like change, guys. I don't like change. But, you know, no matter where you're joining, thanks for coming and joining tonight. Let me just get this up here because I know if I don't put it out on locals, like half the people will not know. So there you go. It's out there on locals, and I'll throw it out here on Twitter too. If everybody else could retweet this, that will be that'd be great. So I'm just saying we're going to be talking Trump, talking Tate, and talking Murdaugh in that order. In that very order. We're going to start with Trump, of course, because I haven't had a chance to talk about this insanity that's been going on with the Trump floor person. But yeah, locals is up now, so I'll drop the link in the chat for everybody so you can see where the locals live chat is. If y'all want to post any completely degenerate photos, that is the place on the locals. So that's over there. And shout out to everybody on Rumble. What's going on, everybody over here on Rumble? Cody No Good, what's going on? Forsaken Roloth. Who else is over there? y'all have fucking hard to pronounce names on Rumble, but good to see you. My Lifestyle there, that's a good one. Good to see you guys over there. Make sure you smash the like button. I miss the pussy. Yeah, and I know it's hard with like a lack of Nick. Like, is Nick? So I guess Nick is over in Vegas, right? I think. Oh, Zero Signal. I'm gonna get you your shit. You're gonna get a bonus from me for the delay of shipping. Good to see you, brother. IFID says, can you briefly touch upon Ben Stiller being asked to defend Tropic Thunder? It's one of the funniest movies ever and eminently quotable. Okay, yeah, it's a good warm up. That's a good warm up. So I think Ben Stiller and I think a lot of people have been asked about Tropic Thunder. I think there's that famous one from Robert Downey Jr. when Robert Downey Jr. was asked about Tropic Thunder, like if it could be made again. And I think that was the question, right? I think the question was like, could you make Tropic Thunder again today, or would you? And I think he came out and straight up said that they could not make that today, which is hilarious. Because it's hilarious because it's all comedy. That was pure parody. And if you understood that, even the blackface, like that was meant to send a parody comedic message as to actors. It wasn't to be racist. The intent to that was not to be racist. So I think it's a fucking amazing movie. It's a great movie. And it's like it's kind of the death of comedy. After that, comedy just kind of drops off. And maybe there's one or two other movies, but frankly, I used to love comedy movies back in the day. Now they're just all weird, really cringy humor, or like SJW humor, or it doesn't hit. I can't watch a comedy movie nowadays. Or it's a romantic comedy where the guy is a complete bitch, and you know he completely sacrifices his entire life for this girl, gives up on everything he wants to do. It's just, I can't watch that anymore. You know, once you know. You kind of can't watch it anymore. Once you see the politics, you can't do it anymore. What's up, Sean? Good to see you, brother. Good to see you, brother, in the chat. Potential criminal. Andrew liked bros. Yes, he had a lot of bros. He had a lot of bros indeed. That's very true. Gemma says, what do you say when your mom asks what stone is in a ring? Say, it's a gem, ma. Gemma. Oh, my God. Okay, Gemma. Thank you for getting me to pronounce your name in a specific way because of a joke. That actually deserves some points right there. That deserves some points. Oh, they cannot make blazing saddles. Are you fucking kidding me? Who would they even put in that nowadays? Would not happen. There's no fucking way they can remake that. Let's see. Okay. Oh yes. The great quotes from already getting, of course, the pictures on locals. I'll pull these up, but you get some great quotes from that. Let me zoom these in and I'll pull these up for you guys. For those who don't know, there's just so many good quotes. Okay, so first of all, you've got this one, which is probably explains most of Hollywood. I know who I am. I am the dude playing the dude disguised as another dude. And of course, the classic, you never go full retard. This is the classic. This is really the OG. Oh, great stuff. See, Kevin Hart, I don't know. I think Kevin Hart can be funny sometimes, but it's like hit or miss with me with Kevin Hart. Oh, by the way, I didn't move. So I did not move my camera. I'm same position. I just moved over the photo, which was over there, to where the posters are, because I have my replacement, but it's really small. So the replacement poster is very small. So I got to get the positioning right on how I position. I haven't put it up yet. I'll show you guys though. This is the replacement waifu. Very traditional trad Korean waifus for you guys. So that's the next one, but it's very small. So I have to see how I fit it on the wall. Haven't done that yet, but we replace. Of course it's small. It's an Asian chick. Of course, guys. It's got a BMI under a gray whale. I'm just saying. I know it's uncomfortable for some people. Speaking of BMIs under a gray whale, I actually have been really remiss, so I need to do this up front because Senpai may be mad at me. Let me do my mandatory shilling here real quick. Guys, Feel the Green has been a great sponsor for me. They've been backing me up for the past month. So make sure, if you guys want to support me, support my channel, make sure you go over there and check out Feel the Greens so you can have a BMI south of a gray whale. Because, hey, listen, nobody likes that blubber. No one wants to be a marine mammal for the rest of their life. If you want to start, looking better, feeling better, get yourself some water. Start drinking water. That's why I'm drinking water, so I'm not a fat fuck all the time. I drink enough alcohol out there. So start drinking water and then maybe spice it up with a little bit of this juice. Just toss it in there. Does a good thing. Throw it in a glass of water 2 a day. Do a little bit of extra walking, a little bit of workout. Mwah, it's going to work out great. It's got actual vegetable in it and fruits and vegetables in it, not just extract. So check that out with promo code MINDSET. That is promo code MINDSET with the link in the description. So now Senpai cannot be mad at me anymore. I have done my duty. Will love harpooning them whales. Oh, yes, he does. And we will have probably next week, we will have a Pimpcast. I have to see who I can get on and when, but that's my target. So next week we'll be doing a Pimpcast. And I will see. Obviously, it'll be Drex for sure and myself. And then we'll see who else we can get in there. Still waiting for them to add THC. It's only a matter of time, my friend. It's only a matter of time. The THC is coming. And thank you very much, Snacks and Comics, for the $1.99 super sticker. I appreciate that. The thumbs up super sticker. Appreciate you. Appreciate all of y'all. All right, so let's jump into it with the first topic today. And I want to talk about this Georgia grand jury. I missed out on, man. I was going to do this yesterday, but I was feeling a little under the weather. So I punted this to today. But we got to talk about Emily Kors. We got to watch this interview because this is deranged. If you didn't have a chance to watch this woman is deranged. And as always, I will appreciate being the designated misogynist in the legal community. That's fine. That's fine. They put me in that corner. I'm going to accept the burden of being the misogynist here. So we'll get there. This is a crazy woman who owns a bunch of cats. I'll tell you that right now. And by the way, the way her voter registration swings. That's not even a question. Defines clout goblin. But let's get into the background a little bit, right? So the jury, and this is just a basic article. All the articles are pretty much going to say the same shit. We're going to talk about the background of the indictments. So the jury in the Georgia Trump inquiry recommended multiple indictments for woman says. She would not discuss specific indictments. That's actually not true. She kind of does in the special grand jury report, but noted its recommendations were not going to be some giant plot twist. So right here, using this language, plot twist, you can tell where this woman's head is at. This woman is 100% a clout goblin. She's 100% writing her own story here. She's abusing due process. Yes, I'll say it. She is abusing due process to write her own story. This is the most important she will ever be. And you can see through both her language, in writing, and you're going to see her behavior. It's clear. It's not even, you don't need to be a body language expert. This stuff is jumping through the screen. It makes you uncomfortable. How much she is lapping up this attention. This is the most attention this girl will ever get, Emily Kors will ever get in her entire life. This is her 3 seconds of fame is being mentioned by the news networks, whatever, being mentioned by Papa Mindset. She'll try to write a book about it. I guarantee you. But this is pretty bad. So the special grand jury investigated election interference by former President Donald J. Trump and his allies in Georgia, recommended indictments for multiple people on a range of charges in its final report. It's not a short list. The forewoman, Emily Kors, who we'll see in a second, said in an interview. She declined to name the people recommended for the indictment since the judge handling the case decided to keep those details secret when he made public a few sections of the report last week. But 7 sections are still under wraps to deal with the indictment recommendations. Special juries in Georgia do not have indictment powers. Fannie T. Willis, district attorney of Fulton County, has led the investigation and will decide what charges to bring before a regular grand jury. One of the issues here is that the local prosecution is kind of suspect. It's a little bit suspect because I believe Fannie Willis has been the subject of a fair amount of controversy over the past years in terms of what she's chosen to go after and not go after. But let's look at what I really want to look at is this fucking interview. So let's jump right over to that. Because I just want you guys to watch this and immediately look at her look. This is the first shot here. Look at how excited she is. It's like that creepy stare. What is that trope in Japanese? What the yandere, I think, right? Yeah, it's like the yandere, right? It's definitely deranged, and it's from a deeper place here. You can see it right away. So let's just play this.
Of course, one of the biggest questions remaining for everyone that wasn't in that jury room with you is how many people are in trouble here? What can you tell us about?
You're smirking. Look at this shit. This is mental. These are people's lives. And this woman is treating it like it's her birthday party. Holy shit. I mean, seriously, guys, this I did not expect.
How many people you recommended as a group to face indictments?
I think she's like literally about to coom here. Like, are you kidding? Look at this face. What? This is a person who is the four person. So this is the most sane girl in the room. Is this woman? Are you kidding me right now? Is this Clout Goblin laying her goblin clutch on screen right now? I mean, I really feel like she's bursting at the seams here. I need the Trump clip. That's gotta happen. This is just wow. So let me play this. This tells you everything you need to know. This is the person. Remember, they chose the 4-person. You have to agree. So if this is their chosen leader, oof, this is the most exciting thing to happen to her since she got that 14th cat.
Well, thank you for having me, first of all. And I'm hesitant to speak to something that the judge made a decision not to share.
Because the judge made a decision, and you violating that could end up with you in jail. So yeah, if you're defying a judge's order, you could be punished for that. That's why you're not doing it. It's not because you're hesitant. It's not because it's your choice. It's because it's fucking illegal. But let's continue.
I don't know if everyone's aware of this, but there was a hearing about what parts of the report should and should not be published in its various forms, and the sections that were removed were consciously chosen to be removed. And I don't want to say I have better judgment than the judge.
That's totally understandable. Would you say, when it comes to, there are indictments recommended, of course. Is it
Yes.
more than 12 people? Is it more than 20 people?
I think if you look at the page numbers of the report, there's about 6 pages in the middle that got cut out.
So and it's like she's trying to be. This is the whole thing. These people, they think they're fucking smart, but when the judge says don't talk about something, you don't talk about it. And by going out here and giving giving this for what is purely for clout, right? Clearly, this woman is doing this for clout. She's joining the clout brigade, right? And recently there have been many ladies joining the clout brigade. We'll kind of showcase them here. Thank you to locals of all the clout ladies lately. But you can't try to circumvent that, saying, okay, well, the judge released 1 page, right? Or half a page or whatever else. So you know the names on those pages. So you're saying, well, there's 6 pages left, and there's names in each of those pages at the same interval. So you can count, you can estimate, you can guess. You're kind of circumventing the judge's orders. You're kind of saying fuck you to the judge and saying, this is really about my clout. And here's the thing. I'm going to say this too. And this has been very disturbing lately. The amount of people that do not care about due process in this country is frankly disturbing. You see this in the Trump case. You see this with Tate. It's all the things we're going to talk about today. Trump, Tate, Murdaugh. Ain't nobody giving a shit about their due process. Any of them. And yes, I understand Andrew Tate is in a foreign country, but I will say one thing. If I can stand for one element of American imperialism, it is due process. And I'll die on that cross, right? I think due process is something that around the world, everyone should be entitled to. That's something I think I can stand up as a universal process, that there should be some sort of fair process before your life is taken, your liberty is taken, your property is taken. I think that's reasonable. I think that's a reasonable ask. We're like, oh, it's 180 days in all of Europe. I don't give a shit. Europe is not fucking perfect. Neither is America, by the way, but no, Europe is not perfect. We can fix that. We can do better than that. In Japan, it's even longer. So listen, there's not a perfect country out there that gets it right, but we can do better. We can constantly strive to improve due process. We don't need to be relying on the same due process that we had in 1776. How about we do a little bit better? How about we work to get better? So let's continue here. Oh, sorry. Solon says, the cuckoo noises can be heard from here. That's a good one. That's a good one. Let's continue here.
Allow for spacing. It's not a short list.
Not a short list. More, I mean, when it comes to 75.
This makes me uncomfortable. Watching this makes me actually uncomfortable.
Witnesses, like, it's not, I assume, of course, it's
Right.
not 75 people. Would you characterize it as 20-ish people?
I can't say I counted.
Okay. More than a dozen.
She's trying to be cute. She thinks she's cute here. She thinks she's being cute. Scott says, I can smell her from here. Hey, Mephisto, what's up? I see you on Rumble. Oh, my God. This is psycho. This is fucking psycho. I feel uncomfortable and I'm in Korea. I'm not even on the same fucking continent as this woman, and I am uncomfortable right now.
Dozen, though, I think I'd heard you say in another interview.
I believe so. That's probably a good assumption.
The name that everyone wants to know about is former President Trump.
Of course.
Did you recommend charges against Donald Trump?
I really don't want to share something that the judge made a conscious decision not to share.
But she knows right now, and she has it out there, and there's the separate clip with her. But let's continue here and let this play out.
I will tell you that it was a process where we heard his name a lot.
No shit.
We definitely heard a lot about former President Trump, and we definitely discussed him a lot in the room. And I will say that when this list comes out, there are no major plot twists waiting for you.
You know, it's interesting. That just raises more questions.
I know, I'm sorry.
No, please do not apologize. I'm very appreciative of your time. When you say there's no plot twists and people won't be shocked, people are gonna hear that and they're gonna think that means that Donald Trump is definitely on that list. I know it's delicate, but can you speak to that?
I can't.
No, she literally, I will say the reporter is actually being a little bit of a dumbass because she literally answered the question twice. But this is the worst poker face I've ever seen in my life.
Well, I might be able to, according to instructions, but I don't want to. I don't want to speak out on something that the judge, like I said, consciously chose not to release at this point. I don't know if I would interfere with the DA's investigations. I don't know if I would interfere with procedures in some way. I very much do not want to cross that line.
But in your view, people will not be surprised when they see the list of names to come out who you recommended to face indictment.
Especially if they've been following the investigation. I can't see it being a shocker.
You know, Donald Trump put out a statement last week about the partial report that the judge did release, the pages that he did. And the way that he described it is he said that your report means total exoneration for him, is how he put it in his statement.
Thank you for the grand jury for total exoneration in the USA. Okay. Well, he can put out whatever he wants to put out on truth. But
and what's your reaction to that, Emily?
I did see that today, which was fascinating. I'm not positive he read the right document, but I will say that if what he was talking about was our statement where we indicated that there was no evidence of widespread fraud or widespread vote fraud in the Georgia 2020 election, that might have been what he meant. Other than that, I'm not positive what he meant by that. I'd be interested to know.
This is fucking weird. People are like, I can fix her. No, you cannot. This is that face right there, that is unfixable, ladies and gentlemen. That is not fixable. That is not fixable.
Sure, we will hear more from him after after it all comes out. You know, the portion of the final report that has been released, there's another portion. That part that you just talked about was of great interest to a lot of us, but also the other portion that obviously demands a lot of attention is also the portion, and I'll read this for everyone, where you all wrote, a majority of the grand jury believes that perjury may have been committed by one or more witnesses testifying before it.
Sure, and let's be fucking clear, and let's be really clear, guys. In every case ever, there's a shit ton of perjury going on. People are lying left and right. Think about real life. In real life, do people lie? Yes. Is it oftentimes a small, relatively innocent lie? Yeah, people just lie to save face, to cover for other people, to cover for themselves, right? I mean, people just fucking lie. And we saw that in many cases where people committed perjury. People even lie to law enforcement and they don't do anything about it. They don't follow up with that. Look back at Amber Heard versus Johnny Depp. How many lies did we hear Amber Heard saying, including lies that she told to police? A lot. But is she ever going to be followed through on the perjury charges? No. People perjure themselves all of the time. This isn't a big deal. Oh, holy shit, somebody lied. Let's just get over it. You know, we don't charge people with that in general. We can if it's egregious. But generally as a system, it's something we say, okay, you know, there might be one or two people that are covering or lying or whatever else, right? There's a lot of reasons why you might lie. If you're talking about your boss and you're still working for them, yeah, maybe you don't want to get on their bad side. But just let's accept that as a fact. This is a nothing right here. This fact, nothing burger to me.
Is perjury the crime that you all believed was the main crime you all believe was committed?
I wouldn't say that. I would say that it ended up included there because it was less pointed of a suggestion than some of the other things we may have written in the parts of the report the judge chose to keep confidential.
Like
I would say that
less specific to a person.
Right. I would say that we thought it was important to keep it separate as well. Okay, I will say that I thought it was important to keep it separate as well, at least in my opinion, not anybody else's, but mine, that there's a difference between the crimes we were called to investigate and crimes that were committed in the room.
How would you describe the strength of the evidence?
I don't, yeah. And once again, I just want to point out that due process applies at all parts of the stage. We're looking at, especially today, we're looking at 3 different stages. We're looking at due process, like with the charges, right? Before you've even levied charges, right? You haven't even, issued your official charges via indictment yet against everybody who's associated with this. So before you're charged, when you're detained, but before trial. So Trump is, okay, pre-charges, Tate after charges, or when you're detained, but before trial, and Murdaugh at trial. We're gonna see wild violations of due process just all throughout the system. It's fantastic today. And by fantastic, I mean it's a joke.
That was put before you.
The strength of it.
Was it clear cut?
We heard a lot of very compelling things, like a lot of very compelling evidence, a lot of very interesting things, and things that we didn't expect. We discovered a lot as we went.
Like, we know.
Once again, I feel like she's got to be one of those people who is sitting there with TDS trying to, just absolutely salivating to get something. Yeah, it's scary. Just like watching the amount of excitement. These are people in their life and their liberty. This is something you should take seriously, not something that should be a joke, not something you should be doing for clout. It really destroys the respect of the institution of justice and the institution of the grand jury.
That you all heard at least one call that Donald Trump was on during this period. This is the infamous call that the whole world has heard as it was released when he was speaking to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger. But in terms of just calls and recordings of calls, are there others of those?
I can tell you I heard other phone calls. I don't think I could name all of them right now if I wanted to. After 75 witnesses in 8 months, it gets hard to keep all your bits straight.
Are there calls that Donald Trump was on?
Yes. I'm positive I have heard the president on the phone more than once.
Oh, he's heard him on the phone. Oh, God, convict him for the phone. Oh, no. He's used a telephone. How dare you, President? How dare you?
Some of the big name witnesses who came before you, they really fought against coming before you. They didn't want to testify, but they were forced to. They were told by the judge that they needed to, like Mark Meadows, Donald Trump's former chief of staff. What stood out to you from his testimony?
Mr. Meadows didn't share very much at all.
Well,
was not
that's typically you don't want to share more than you have to. So nothing wrong with that. That's his right.
very willing to speak on much of anything. He asserted his rights under the Fifth Amendment and under executive privilege, which he absolutely had the right to do.
So,
and that was pretty much that.
So he asserted his rights. And of course, mind you, we're watching CNN. So this is like the most leftist slant you're going to get here, period. Jessica, trying to redirect Supreme Leaders because some of my very few followers to you. Okay, I will do that right now, Jessica. Thank you. Thank you for simping for the legal daddy. Squid. Someone needs to let Nick know there's a female contender for the title of Nose. Holy crap, she looks like a comic character. Yeah, it's a different type of nose, though. Hers has that Nick's nose has that Slavic goodness, that his ancestors were working those potatoes really hard. That borscht was really getting mashed. But this is more of a, grab your broomstick and hat sort of situation. Let's continue here.
This wasn't just a few days of jury duty. I've been kind of thinking about this as we were going to speak today. I mean, this was more than 7 months of your life and dealing with one of the most closely scrutinized investigations in recent political history. I mean, what is your lasting impression?
Look at how excited she is about that. Let me go back here a second just to show her expression.
Political history.
Look at that. Look at her look here. She is practically, like I said, get the mop in the bucket. This is fucking nuts. When it's
what
really
is your
weird.
Lasting impression of this process, Emily?
I've loved being a part of this process.
Really? I couldn't have told that you loved being part of this process. You loved being part of this process. What a shocker. What a shocker that you were enjoying this the entire time. What a fucking shocker. Oh, don't worry. By the way, don't worry, NL. I love all Eastern European food. I love shabove. I love pierogies. I love everything, man. I love the Czech beer is amazing. I love goulash, all that shit. It's fantastic. I spent a lot of time in Eastern Europe. Just because I'm in Asia doesn't mean I don't have a fondness for Eastern Europe. Johnny Arbor says she needs an exorcism. I think you're going to need a priest, a rabbi, an imam, and I don't know, whatever the Zoroastrians got. Because you're going to need some full power for this.
I think it's amazing to actually be able to be a part of this process for once. I think it's a privilege to be able to actually be a part of the system for once and making it work. This has been fascinating to get this peek into the world of politics and of all these different, of government and of all these different things, and, have the curtain lifted just a little bit and let us peek in as regular people has been amazing, and I'm so glad that I did it.
She's doing more than peeking,
when it's all said and done, and the DA.
Because here's the thing: this isn't about her learning about the judicial process. This isn't about her going to class or going to law school or taking some sort of educational course. She is the process. So she doesn't. This isn't something for her to learn or be entertained by. This is her duty under the Constitution. This is what bothers me about this fundamentally. Duty versus, hey, this is a fun experience for you. It's really cool.
Makes her final decision on charging. What do you say to people who question your findings or want to say that your investigation, what you all were doing in that room, was influenced by politics?
I think that's the opposite. I think that by choosing to have a grand jury, by choosing to impanel regular people, they very specifically chose to avoid politics, to take bias out of the question, because they chose to get, instead of anyone else, they chose to get 16 random people. They could have gotten, if they had wanted someone who was just going to support their opinions, they could have gone and hired a bunch of legal experts. There were all kinds of choices.
I would doubt that. You can hire very, very, very diverse panel of experts. You can get people that are very, very, very separate in terms of political opinion. So, and I would say, look at the lawyers, even look at the lawyers on YouTube. You've got crazy lefties. You got people that are very, very, very much left. And then you've got people that are a little bit more based. We can name them. We know who they are.
of the population of the area. And I think that speaks really strongly to them trying to avoid bias in any way and trying to avoid politics.
After everything that you've seen, what would your reaction be if the DA decides against bringing any charges after what you've seen?
I will be sad if nothing happens. Like that's about my only request there is for something to happen. I don't necessarily know what it is. I'm not the legal expert. I'm not the judge. I'm not the lawyers, but I will be frustrated if nothing happens. This was too much information, too much of my time, too much of everyone's time, too much of their time, too much argument in court about getting people to appear before us. There was just too much for this to just be, oh, okay, we're good, bye.
And if it was just a perjury charge?
Well, like this part where she says that and then she goes forward and does the teeth thing.
Perjury charges, would that be acceptable to you?
That's fine. I will be happy as long as something happens.
So that is actually very telling that they want to convict, they want something to happen. The presumption should be against, right, finding charges, right? But the presumption of innocence should be existing throughout the entirety of the process. But when you're seeking something actively, that's bad. It's real bad. She laughed. She fucking laughed. Let me go back a second here. Play that. Sorry, I interrupted it because I had to. It was just disturbing me so much. But look, she laughed.
I will be happy as long as something happens.
You know, Emily, the political...
That laugh right there. God damn. And I know there's other, look, listen, guys. I know there's other lawyers that are going to be very professional about this, that are going to handle this in this way. That's not me. I'm calling this like I see it. This is a hell of a wild pitch. And this is a pitch you do not want to catch, let me just say. And this is not going to go well for Donald in terms of the indictment. I'll tell you that.
Environment has become more dangerous.
Yes.
There are so many examples of that, and look no further than the violence we saw on the Capitol attack on January 6th.
Oh my God! Are you seriously? You have to bring up J6, which has nothing to do with this. So literally, J6 has zero to do with this. Literally nothing to do with this. But fucking CNN has to bring up J6 because that's the grift they got to go with. They cannot let that thing go. We're in 2023. We're about to run to a new election cycle. Can we move on, please? Can we do that? Thank you.
Now, with your name and your face out there and connected to such a high-profile investigation involving Donald Trump, are you worried about your safety?
I'm not. I'm cautious about my safety. I'm aware of my safety, but I'm not worried. I don't think I should be. I don't think I did, or any of the jury members did anything that says we believe one way or the other about politics, about
Bullshit.
any of these issues. I think we were impaneled to find facts. And I think we did our best to find those facts and share those facts with the district attorney in her office.
All right. So that was the interview. That was the main interview. There was the side interview. Another comment she made about wanting to look him in the face and being able to see it and swear him in and say, do you swear to tell the truth, and wanting that. But clearly there is a level of clout derangement. That is like the queen clout goblin right there. That is when you give them power, you got to worry about them. And we saw a lot of these people throughout the pandemic. People that really hadn't had any power before, suddenly gaining power and going crazy with it. You get people like Emily Kors. But the truth of the matter is, and actually you're right there, Hesdead Jim, Trump voters aren't going around shooting and stabbing people. That's a made-up narrative. In fact, if anything, it's been the Democratic voters and supporters, in fact, the deranged, crazy leftists that have been killing people on the right. If you looked at the one they buried, the story they buried of the driver who went out and killed the young person he perceived as a Trump supporter in North Dakota, I believe it was the Ellington case. Might be wrong on that name before, but that's more likely to happen nowadays than anything else. Or some weird situation like the DePepe incident, which clearly has nothing to do with political motivation and everything to do with late night hammering, but they're going to pin that on the right. So anyways, where do I expect this to go? Obviously, I'll follow this. I'll be on top of this. I know a few people are going to cover it because it's something that is taboo. We may have to move that topic to Rumble. That's fine. I'm planning to do Rumble exclusives every week. So if we have to, we have to. But I expect there will be charges coming out of this one. And I expect, by the way, as we go into the campaign season for next year, we're going to be dealing with a lot of charges against Trump and his associates and, you know, everybody who's tied up in the campaign. I assume they're going to try to tie up everybody they can with charges going into the election season. Oh, yes, the Antifa guy stalking and killing a Trump supporter in Portland. Sorry, that was there too. No, NL, there's more than one. That's what makes it so egregious versus, you know, what can they cite on the other side? It really isn't there. The only thing they can try to do is say, oh, all shooting incidents, all mass shooting incidents are owned by the right. No, they're not. Potential criminal says, Exhibit 1 in my motion to unseal the GJ transcript. Oh, yeah. Like literally right there. Like her face. Just like literally, Sean, put like a piece of tape and her fucking face on it. That crazy face. And that's all you need. But good to see you, brother. Marcel Defour says, she has the I pegged the bull while my boyfriend cries in the chair face. Oh, I love you guys. Only on my channel do I get these comments, which is why I fucking love you guys. And this channel fucking cracks me up. My right-wing violence. Yeah. Trump is a bad man. He must have killed Maggie and Paul. Oh no. That's the new headcanon. Viral Shirt says, when is the Sydney Watson case? I don't know. I will be following that. Obviously, I had a strong take on Sydney Watson. Some people may not have liked that. I don't give a shit. They're wrong. And she's not conservative or traditional and she's a feminist, right? And using that mechanisms of feminism makes her the thing. So that's where I'm going with that one. Jessica, welcome back as a member. I thought you remembered before, but welcome back, Jessica. Appreciate you. I know that some people have been like getting unmembershiped and have to re-membership. It's weird, but I do recommend you come back. Get access to the emojis of Discord, all the fun stuff, and also the records. Yeah, Sydney can have, and by the way, guys, I'm not saying don't like her or whatever. I mean, you do whatever the fuck you want to do in your life, but she's not traditional or conservative like she put herself out there in that lawsuit. When I went over that lawsuit, she called herself traditional and conservative, and she's literally anything but. But I will obviously, whenever the case comes up, whenever there's an advance, I will stay on that. Dapper Dave says, did you notice on Twitter, the leftists are already making up fake stories about DeSantis? Of course, it involves anti-Semitism, racism, and every other lie. You know, I also noticed that. I'll tell you what, I noticed that on my video in the comments about my video with Disney and RCID, people just coming after DeSantis. And I think Trump said some stuff about DeSantis because he's trying to throw some shade. And look, listen, guys, you know, I call the balls and strikes on Trump. And one of his weaknesses is his ego and his unnecessarily lashing out at people he doesn't really need to lash out on right now. I think going after DeSantis right now is a bad move. Just it's unnecessary. It's unneeded. And then you pile on with what other people make up and the bullshit they make up. Truth of the matter is most of those people don't live in Florida. I lived in Florida under DeSantis. People like him. A lot of people like him. Even leftists like him. You know, even people that are the centrists, right? The people that maybe they're registered as Democrats, they like DeSantis because they saw what happened during COVID. And then, like, at the end of the day, that was where the rubber hit the road was, are you protecting our rights or not? And everybody in Florida was like, dude, we just want to go to the beach. Like, can we just go to the beach? And when DeSantis was one of the first to allow that, to open that back up, Pepperidge Farm remembers. That's right, Eric V. Pepperidge Farm remembers. So let's piss everybody off right now. And I always piss, like, I think nobody is happy with my take, but I don't really give a shit on this, on Tate. So let's talk a little bit about Tate and where that's at. And I just want to give an update and where I think we're at in that case. Now, I have been kind of slow on commenting because I wanted to get more evidence. I waited till I saw some messages, some women speaking out that they weren't abused by Tate, and also seeing what evidence I'd seen on the other side. And whenever I'd seen anybody present evidence regarding Tate, it seemed to be really old videos, things that were from the past interviews, past comments, past voicemails that weren't necessarily related to this case, the accusations in this case, the charges in this case. And I say this once, I'll say it again. I don't give a shit whether you like Tate, whether you hate Andrew Tate, whether you think he's a piece of shit, whether you think he's got small dick energy, think he's top G, whatever you think about Tate, it doesn't fucking matter. This is about, and my whole thing with Tate, and my only reason to cover Tate, is about pushing for due process. And I think that's something that should exist around the world globally. I don't think people should be able to be held on shitty charges for 6 months. I don't give a shit if that's the standard in Europe. I don't care if that's normal. It shouldn't be. And there's alternatives. So what we have here today with the update on Tate is Tate is going to spend another 30 days in detention after a third extension. So the understanding is he can spend up to, my understanding is he can spend up to 6 months in jail on his current charges. But the interesting thing for me, the thing I wanted to bring up and just mention here is that here you go. His Tate's detention was extended for a third time on Tuesday, meaning he will remain in custody until at least the end of March, at which point the judge is going to look at it again and make another determination and can continue to extend it. However, here we go. A court in Bucharest extended the arrest warrants of him and his brother, Tristan, after they were detained on alleged, nothing has been proven, rape and human trafficking offenses. Tate lost his appeal to end his detention earlier this month. Now, here we go. The two Romanian women that were in there with him were already let out. Georgina and Luana, and they're under house arrest. All four of them deny the charges. They're all being charged for the same thing. They're all in for the same boat. So you let the women out and you keep the men locked up. Why can you not have them under house arrest as well? They have the technology in Romania. Yes, they're not as developed. Yes, they're much more corrupt. They're insanely corrupt. Yes, they're backwards. They know how to do a house arrest. That's completely practical. Let's put them under house arrest like the women. Why are you giving the women one treatment and the guys another? Because women? Because we got to protect the woman? Because equality? Because we want to send a signal here that women are in a different standard of justice than men? All I'm saying here in this development, in this mode, and I think nobody has said anything about this, is that disparate treatment. But I also think just in general, keeping them there for 6 months without going forward on charges, presenting evidence, or rather having a further evidentiary hearing is bullshit. And I will say this too. People say, oh, he's a flight risk. There's very easy ways to shut that down. I know people make Tate out to be some evil criminal mastermind, and maybe that's the image in your head. But it's easy enough to keep a guy from escaping. They do it all the time here with folks on house arrest. It's completely possible to keep Tate from getting away. By the way, if any of you think that Dubai would not turn him over, some people think Dubai would not extradite him. I'm here to tell you right now, Dubai would 1,000% turn him over. Dubai would not hold out. They have a certain image, and the image that Dubai is going for is not haven for people who are charged with crimes. And even if you think Andrew Tate is innocent, and even if he ultimately is innocent, they don't want this image. Dubai does not want this image of, hey, you're a criminal, come here and we'll hide you. That's not Dubai's vibe. That's not what Dubai is going for. So that's my take on Tate for now. I'm covering Tate as there's actual evidence, not me saying, oh, well, there's this old video in the past, or there's this other thing he said on this podcast, or there's this extraneous bullshit. We're not doing that on this channel. We're doing facts. We're doing timelines. We're doing actual stuff that happens in court. And I'm covering it from the perspective of due process and due process alone. I have my biases. I do, right? I think believe all women is bullshit. That's my bias. And I think we've proven that's pretty factual through so many cases that are coming up right now that have happened and will happen. With Marilyn Manson, Smithline, if you didn't hear about that one, Smithline, one of the Manson accusers, just apologized to Manson, saying it was all made up. We live in the era of the Amber Heards, the Smithlines, the people, the Ilmagors that are making these accusations, making these false accusations. We have to scrutinize these things. And listen, even if it's the worst of the worst, we have to stand for due process for all. That's what separates us from them. Free speech, right? We can't just be our free speech. It has to be everybody's free speech. Everybody is free. Say whatever the fuck they want to say. Let me catch these here. Maps Go on the Wall says, Jessica, do that Reddit post I linked you on Twitter the other day about the chick whose housemates got into it with her one-night stand. Oh, nice. That'll happen, by the way. That'll happen. Don't mess with don't get between, roommate and a one-night stand. And welcome, Maps Go on the Wall. Welcome to the membership program. To the RPG, the replay game. You can catch all the archived episodes, which you can only get if you're a member, especially Pimpcast. All of the Pimpcasts are immediately archived because we get banned right away. Dapper Dave says, I said it once, going to say it again about the trafficking case. It's a fishing expedition to create other charges like taxes trying to have to stick. Thank you. And Dapper Dave, this is actually a perfect segue to the Murdaugh case. So we're going to watch, because I missed it. So I am subjecting all of you to watching the last 30 minutes or so of the Murdaugh cross-examination with me. And I know it's about the financial crimes, which, by the way, we know all the financial crimes are going to stick. At this point, those are 100% going to stick. But that's what they can actually get somebody with. They know that. They've done this before. They know they can get wire fraud charges to stick. Somebody cashed a bad check at some point. It's going to happen. All right, let me check. Make sure I'm caught up on all these other platforms here. I see you guys on Rumble. Dom Man says, in trying to get chicks to testify against him, easier to coach when under house arrest? I don't think so. I mean, they don't have to be under house arrest with him. They can all be under house arrest separately. It's very easy to do that as well. They don't have to be in the same house. In fact, my understanding is most of the chicks did not live in the same house. But just calling here's a dangerous precedent. Let me tell you right now. Here's a dangerous precedent. If every time a woman speaks up for a man, including his own girlfriend. So imagine you're there, you're accused of a crime. Let's say you're accused of assaulting a dude in a bar. And they get to throw your girlfriend off the stand because they say, oh, she's brainwashed. She's no longer a good witness because she's brainwashed. Are we going into the era of believing that anytime a woman has an opinion, it's automatically some sort of deep psychological brainwashing? That's a bad precedent to go through. We should say, okay, you can take the stand. We admit your evidence, and the jury can take it the way they want to take it. Admit the evidence, let it in, but don't try to exclude it off rip from the first, from the get-go. Let that go to trial, let them testify, and then the jury can decide whether they view that testimony as credible or not. I just don't think that everybody who says something positive about somebody else is brainwashed. And certainly that's one of the facts in the Tate case that lends me to scratching my chin a little bit, is that there's a significant number of women that have spoken out in favor. Not guilty until proven innocent. But it is Romania. Now, I'm not a Romanian lawyer. So, that just tells you, Eastern Europe it's got some problems too. It's not the land of milk and borscht or kielbasa, whatever your thing is. Not going to judge you. All right. So let's get over to the Murdaugh trial. So I just want to say something before we get into the Murdaugh trial. We're going to watch the last bit of it. And I'm going to do live commentary on this bullshit. But I will say this. I did hop on last night for a bit with Vices. I watched a little bit before and after, before I hopped on and after I got in. Alex Murdaugh, I know some people think that he's got nothing to lose. He's just there to tell a story. I just think it's only damages you. I don't think it helps. I don't think it helps. I still stand by that. I think he has made some clarifications that have been on direct helpful, but then you get cross and you have this opportunity to bring up and pretty much try in court all of the financial crimes, which is what we're seeing them do. So let's get out here and let's jump into this. We're not going to watch the whole thing, just a small point of it. But I want to do some running commentary on we'll go about 30 minutes max of this. So it's not all night, and this is the cross-examination regarding the financial crimes.
Sheets, can I have them back, please?
Yes, sir. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Just trying to see which ones. There's some things about it that I'm curious about, but
Yeah, we'll
you
talk
ask
about that.
questions.
We'll talk about that.
By the way, first of all, the prosecutor is a clown. He's also a dick. But this is the real dick. Obviously, we got Dick Poon down here. But the way they've conducted this has been a clown show.
All right. Let's talk about, let's start with Natasha Thomas. Do you remember her?
I do.
How old was she when she became your client?
I'm not sure. She was young.
She was a teenager?
I'm not sure, but I know she was young.
She was underage, correct?
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, hearing this, I'm like, wait, what is this a trial for? You're talking about how this girl was underage. What are we on trial here for? And obviously this is going to be a financial crime.
She was underage. I do believe that.
All right.
In fact, I know that.
And can you tell me what the, she was
By the way, I want to say something about this real quick. We said, I fear for the future of my 13-year-old white son. Dreamcatcher, you know what's funny? I was talking with Rolo, good friend of mine. And he was saying a funny thing, which was the people, a lot of the people asking for advice for like young men or men, it's actually turning out to be moms now who have 2 or 3 boys. So that's actually a thing that I think is growing here. People who have, when you have guys that whether you have brothers or your mom who has sons, those are the people that finally start thinking, hey, wait a second, what is it like to be a guy? Like, what's their experience in the world? It's not fun in 2023. And there's so many landmines to navigate, especially just living your regular life as a guy doing things that guys would normally do in the past. You can't operate like the 80s. You can't operate like the 70s. I watch movies from the 70s and 80s, can't operate like that anymore. You got to move much more carefully and much more different, particularly in the United States.
injured in this wreck with, in an automobile wreck, correct?
Yes.
And the company Michelin, that was one of the defendants for an alleged tire issue, is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. And do you remember how much Natasha Thomas got in that particular case? And I can show it to you on 334. You remember how much she got?
As a gross settlement, I believe it shows $2 million.
$2 million. All right. And how much were your or PMPD's fees that would be attributed to you in that out of that $2 million?
$800,000.
$800,000.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir. All right. And so that would be $800,000 in fees that would get attributed to you. That has nothing to do with the money that you subsequently stole from that teenager. Correct?
The 800,000 is different from money that I stole?
Yes.
That's correct.
All right. So you got $800,000 attributed to you with the firm, but that was not enough. You also stole money from that teenager. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. When you did that, did you sit down with her, much as you sat down with this jury, and explain to her what was going on while you were stealing her money?
That would be the normal process, but I certainly don't remember specifically doing that.
That would be the normal process, correct?
It would be. It may be a little different with a teenager, but certainly, I mean,
You would sit down with them across the table and go through these documents, correct?
if that would not be abnormal. Yes, sir.
All right. And then you would explain to them what was going on and how they were getting everything they were entitled to, correct?
If I was the one doing it, yes, sir.
And you would look them in the eye while you did that, correct?
It wouldn't be unusual for me to look them in the eye.
While you were doing some fast talking to a teenager, correct?
I certainly was not telling her the truth. I don't know if I was talking fast or slow, but I wasn't telling the truth.
All right. Well, you ultimately convinced her that there was nothing amiss here, right? While you were stealing her money, correct?
I don't know if I convinced her that nothing was amiss or I misled her, but I admit candidly in all of these cases, Mr. Waters, that I took money that was not mine and I shouldn't have done it. I hate the fact that I did it. I'm embarrassed by it. I'm embarrassed for my son. I'm embarrassed for my family. And I don't dispute that I did it. I
understand that. But
And
you
so-
understand that we have to ask.
So yeah, no, he's so this is the thing that I think that when I brought up here why I didn't want to watch and why I tuned out, it's because none of this is related. None of these crimes of which he admits is culpable for, he can be guilty of all of the financial crimes, every single one of them, and not guilty of murder. That does not prove murder. It also doesn't prove motive to kill your wife and your son. By itself, whether or not he committed all of those crimes, it is still irrelevant to that motive. They haven't shown in here. And so by going through this and saying you're a piece of shit for taking money from a, disabled, a disabled or underage person, disabled person, whatever else it is, there's a litany of people here, right? Doesn't prove anything. And he's saying, oh, we have to do it. No, we don't actually. And this is dishonest from the prosecutor by saying, we have to do this. No, you actually don't. The only reason why you're allowed to do it is because this judge is horrible, should never be on the bench, and made a decision to allow in completely irrelevant information above the law and contravening principles enshrined in our Constitution. Welcome to South Carolina Court 2023. And I know some of y'all are going to get mad at me, some of y'all in red states, but this is in red states too. This deprivation of due process, the critical issue here in the Alex Murdaugh trial, which goes beyond Alex Murdaugh. Because guess what, guys? I'll say it. Fuck Alex Murdaugh. I don't give a shit about Alex Murdaugh. I really don't. I give a shit about due process. Alex Murdaugh as an individual next to the right of due process, he doesn't make a mark. He's not a skid mark on the underwear, on the Speedo of due process. He doesn't matter individually. The right and preserving the right is what's important. And we need people that stand for principles, and judges and lawyers and prosecutors who stand for these principles above the petty need to be right, to keep their win rate high, and to convict somebody. And it's more important than the lust of any wine mom out there who wants to sit alone with her bottle of Pinot Grigio and her 35 cats and see something entertaining on TV or on YouTube. This is not what due process is about. It's not what it's here for.
Ask about these things because we've heard about it in a very academic paperwork manner, but every single one of these, you had to sit down and look somebody in the eye and convince them that you were on their side when you were not, correct? That's what you did in every single one of these.
I mean, every time.
Answer my question, yes or no, and then you can explain. I'll let you explain all day long.
Well, I mean, no, sir, that may or may not be true. And Mr. Waters, just to try to get through this quicker, I admit.
I know you want to get through it quicker, but we're not. So answer the question, please.
What I.
Well, and that once again, the jury is seeing that, and it's like, yo, because what this is doing is it's saying, hey, and actually it's a little bit smarter of Murdaugh being like, yo, we can skip all this, but he's like, we're gonna drag it out. It's like, all right, we're gonna drag it out.
I admit is that I misled them, I did wrong, and that I stole their money. Now, this is something. What's the date on that one?
I'll bring it back to you.
Well, you can tell me. I trust you to tell me accurately.
All right. Well, it's kind of funny. It doesn't have the date on it, but I'll let you take a look at it.
All right, I'm just looking at the date of the check. So that's December 20th. So that goes of 2011. So that gives us a ballpark. So that's 12 years ago. For me to sit here and tell you specifically that I remember sitting down and talking with Natasha Thomas, I can't tell you that. But what I can tell you,
I'll be honest. That's to me, that part is credible. It's like, I don't remember a specific conversation from 12 years ago, unless it was like a life or death situation. It was some big situation, being hired, fired, whatever else, it's some emotional charge situation. You're probably not going to remember it. It's probably going to be kind of hazy for you. And by the way, the emotionally charged situations you can remember incorrectly, which is the whole thing about the crime scene, about what went down with Paul and Maggie. His memory of that is not going to be 100% on point because the way he felt about it. And by the way, that could also be influenced by drugs. So combine drugs with a highly emotional moment, his memory of that's not going to be great anyways, regardless of whether he was involved or not.
I can tell you that I didn't do right by Natasha Thomas. I took money from Natasha Thomas that didn't belong to me, and I was wrong for doing that.
Okay.
And I admit that.
All right. I know, Mr. Murdaugh, that you would like for it just to be as simple as that, just to say, yes, ladies and gentlemen, I stole money, and have that be the end of it. But in every single one of these cases,
To the comment, Your Honor.
you testified that you would like to just admit.
No, he didn't even. Did he even wait? Did he even wait for the judge's response? This is how much these guys are butt buddies, the prosecutor and the judge. He didn't even wait for the judge's response. He just let him railroad in there. You see that? It's a subtle thing, but it's the dynamic in the courtroom that this prosecutor thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. It's a type of twerp you hate dealing with, the type of attorney you hate dealing with. Makes me glad I don't deal with attorneys on a regular basis, other than through the median of YouTube. But we were talking about topics as commentators, not actively involved. I would hate to deal with this guy.
This quick, correct? Isn't that what you said? Isn't that what you implied?
No, sir, Mr. Waters. You have charged me with murdering my wife and my son, and I've sat here for all these weeks listening to all this financial stuff that I did wrong, that I'm embarrassed by. I'm happy to talk to you about as much of that as you want to talk about. I'm required to talk about it as much as you want to talk about it. But the fact is I cannot specifically remember sitting down, the details that you're asking me for. I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that in all these financial situations, I stole money that was not my money. I misled people that I shouldn't have misled, and I did wrong. I can tell you that. And I may be able to tell you specifically in some instances what I did or didn't do.
All right, well, good. Well, we'll do that. But the point that I'm asking you is, it's not just as simple as some paperwork. You had to sit down and deal with these people and convince them that you were telling them the truth in order to steal this money, correct?
That may not be true, because in some situations, I may not have had to do that. They may have just trusted me to do it.
Okay.
So that's my point, is I misled them. There's no question about that. But did I sit down in each particular instance and like you're breaking it down step by step. I can't say that. I can say I did wrong. I stole money that wasn't mine, and I shouldn't have done it.
All right.
And it was terrible what I did.
All right, well, let's look at stage 330. This is Arthur Badger.
He, by the way, he was very smart to bring up the I'm on trial for the death of my wife and son to remind people of that. You know, that was actually a good reminder. Let me get this guy. I'm digging the Adolf hair and do Andrew when you're going to grow the stash. Not happening. Not happening. This is a very nice fade. They did not have fades back in 1938. Sal in the list says Murdaugh just hired the hitman. That was not a Fed. He obviously didn't hire a good enough hitman if he was hiring a hitman. But frankly, I'm still the disgruntled people in the community, because clearly the one thing from this case that is very clear is that people in this community have a lot of reasons to hate the Murdaugh family in general. That there were a lot of people who had very good reason to hate the Murdaugh family, very good reason to kill a member of the Murdaugh family. That has definitely been proven by all of this. Not who it was, could be anybody, but there's a lot of people with motive. Haven't seen Alex Murdaugh's motive, but still.
EPS case, correct?
That's correct.
All right. Do you remember what the total recovery was in that particular case? There were multiple plaintiffs. Let me ask you that first. There were multiple plaintiffs in that case, correct?
That's correct.
And do you remember what the total recovery was in that case?
Not exactly, but I mean, I know generally.
All right. Was it $12 million? Would you disagree with that?
Is it $12 million? I mean, if you tell me it was $12 million, then I believe you, but I thought it was a little bit more than that.
All right. And if ultimately, if you have multiple plaintiffs, how do you decide as the plaintiff's lawyer, how does it work out that amounts of that total recovery get allocated to individual plaintiffs?
I mean, different cases are different ways.
Is it true that often the defense attorneys, the civil defense attorneys, will ask the plaintiff's attorneys how you want that allocated?
Sometimes, yeah.
Sometimes.
Sure.
Is that what happened in this case? In the Badger case?
I can't remember exactly how we came to that.
Who was the deep pocket in the Badger case? Do you remember? The defendant that had the money that you ultimately recovered from, the vast majority. Do you remember?
Well, it was UPS, and
What can Brown do for you guys? What can Brown do for you? By the way, I want to do a little poll here while we're watching this. I know that a lot of people have covered this so far, but I want to see where you guys have been watching this, and I'll add 4 options to be fair. So, Joe, and then I guess I'll add in technically Vices. So, who had the best coverage according to you guys? Nick, EDB, Joe, or Vices? Was it Nick, MYD Baker, Joe, or Vices? I just want to see who's been the best, who's done the best job so far in the sections that they've covered. That's what you guys did. For those that have watched.
I believe it was, I can't remember if it was corporate or if there was insurance, but it was certainly UPS was the major defendant. Okay. But I believe Arthur Badger was a defendant. I can't remember. I know UPS was.
Did you sit down with him and explain this paperwork that you were using to steal his money?
I believe I did sit down with Arthur Badger.
And managed to convince him that nothing was amiss while at the same time stealing money?
I believe I did.
And did you allocate millions of dollars to Arthur Badger personally while only telling him that his recovery was going to be around $300,000?
I believe that I did. Yes, sir.
And on this exhibit, 330 sat down and looked him in the eye with all this stuff on here and fast talked him past these figures so that he believed you and left thinking that you had done him right.
I would have. I believe that I sat down with Arthur Badger, and I know that I misled Arthur Badger, and I'm sure at some point during that conversation that I looked him in the eye.
Going back to stage 333, you remember Hakeem Pinckney? Do you remember him?
I do.
What happened to him?
He was injured in the same wreck that Natasha Thomas was injured in.
Was he badly injured?
He was.
How badly injured was he?
Yes, I mean, he was terribly injured. He became can't remember what level, but he was a quadriplegic.
Okay, so once again, you bring up so this is the emotional trifecta, right? You bring up the little girl, you bring up the disabled person, maybe you're gonna have a widow in here. You hit all the high spots, right? You hit all of the you're a piece of shit emotional high spots. This is, make no mistake, this is to emotionally manipulate the jury. This is for emotional impact. This has no legal impact. There's no evidentiary value in any of this shit. Period. Doesn't prove crap.
Remember what the total recovery amount was for him?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
All right. Well, let me show you states 333.
And I guess the one thing I will say, because the poll is up right now, so far, 57% of you, 57% of you think Nick is the best coverage. 23% say Joe, and many of you had said it's because Joe got lucky and he got the best days, right? Obviously, Alex Murdaugh is a better day, so Joe did get lucky there. It's the, that eye of the tribe there. And then you have Vices with 12%, my good friend over here in Korea, and EDB is in last place with 9%. And I will say, to be fair, a lot of you on EDB have said it's not about EDB you have a problem with, it's EDB's chat. But I get that. It's kind of hard to separate people from their chat. If you're sitting there the entire time and everyone's screaming guilty, 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 guilty in the chat, it's hard to ignore that. It creates a different vibe. But let's continue here.
And see what the total, if you recall, what the total recovery was in that case.
It looks like it was $10,245,000.
And that was for Hakeem, correct?
That's correct.
And how much of that was the attorney's fees that would have gone to PMPED that would have been attributable to you?
$4,098,000.
$4 million in legal fees that you would have gotten from the settlement. Is that correct?
$4,098,000. Yes, sir.
And in the end, that wasn't enough for you, correct?
What the fuck question is that? The fuck, like, is that
Was that enough for you?
Was that enough for me in that case?
Yeah.
I mean,
Was over $4 million in legal fees that you received that would have been attributable to you through the law firm at the end of the year, whatever it worked out to be, but you would have been credited with over $4 million in fees for that. Is that correct?
that's correct.
And was that enough for you?
Was that enough for me?
Mm-hmm. Or did you take more?
Oh, no,
from,
I took monies from Hakeem Pinckney that did not belong to me, that I should not have taken.
been rendered a paraplegic?
No, sir, he was a quadriplegic,
Quadriplegic. Thank
unfortunately.
you for correcting.
Yeah, so I mean, there you go. That was even more direct there. Yeah, you're a piece of shit. You took money from a quadriplegic. But was that enough for you? Comment. Once again, it's all trying to make him into it. It's all, trying to say, okay, you're bad character, you're a person of bad character. But this is exactly why we leave out character evidence. Bad character, for theft doesn't equate propensity for murder.
Yes, sir.
I mean, also, by the way, that showed honesty because he didn't try to hide that fact. See how Alex is getting in front and being honest about everything? Now, whether he's doing that as a tactic or whether he's doing it because he's had a real change is two things. He's a lawyer. I can presume he's being tricky. That's fine. But it's smart either way.
You ultimately take money from his mother, Pamela, as well.
I believe that I did.
You remember how much money you took from a king?
No, sir, not off the top of my head. I do not.
If I told you it was over $370,000, would you agree with that?
If that's what the records show, I don't dispute that.
Do you remember how much you took from the teenager Natasha Thomas in addition to your legal fees?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
I told you it was over $350,000. Would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
Do you remember how much you took from Arthur Badger?
Not off the top of my head, no, sir.
It was over $1.3 million. Would you agree with that?
I don't dispute it.
Around the time that this was going on, did you have some land deals that were going bad? That had gone bad?
Which
2008, 2009, 2010, 2011?
I think those had happened a little bit before that, but I had some land deals that certainly had problems.
And that had something to do with the money you were taking as well, did it not?
I think the whole picture had things to do with me doing stuff I shouldn't have done. I mean, I would agree that, that certainly would have played some role in it.
Were you living a wealthy lifestyle?
A wealthy lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Probably. I mean, we were living whatever lifestyle, probably.
Would you characterize your lifestyle as wealthy?
That's not how I would characterize it, but
You wouldn't
I'm not
characterize
gonna-
it as wealthy.
I'm not going to take issue with it.
Yeah, that's going to be something you're going to get into because most people in that part of rural South Carolina would consider him extraordinarily wealthy. Although, here's the thing. Here's the real question for you guys. If a person, if their liabilities outweigh their assets, are they really wealthy, right? And at all times, Alex Murdaugh had, it's clear, liabilities, whether it's money he owed, real estate debt, whatever else, that outweighed his assets. Yes, he can be making millions of dollars, but if you make $3 million, but you owe $4 million, you're in the hole $1 million. So what is that, right? There's a lot of people, by the way, that are making a lot of money, and then you have a lot of debt. I mean, out of law school, you have law school debt, right? So technically, you're in the negative till you clear that. It's a weird thing. It's a subjective thing. I think you have to look at the person, not just their salary or their job or what they do or their family. You got to look at them specifically. What are their liabilities, assets? What do they got ongoing that's kind of sucking out their money? Squid says, can his lawyers file a motion to remove the judge from the case for allowing irrelevant and damaging info to the trial? And this would be a major appeal point on likelihood that the jury finds guilty. It's an appeal point. The problem is this transcript is going to be long as hell. That's something Steve Gosney brought up. So that's a problem for the defense and the appeal going over the appeal. So it's going to be a massive transcript. And here's the crazy thing about interlocutory motions, Squid. You can make the motion, but you know who has to rule on that motion? The person who rules on the motion for the judge being biased is the judge. So allowing that motion to go up is something that the judge has to grant. They have to allow it to go up to another judge. They have to allow the trial to be stopped, for it to be paused, and to go up to another judge. You don't get to skip this judge. At least that's my understanding. I'm not a South Carolina lawyer unless there's some weird South Carolina, South Kakalaki magic going on. Some mustard-based sauce you throw in the legal system. That's how it works. The judge actually has to be the one to allow the trial to be paused so you can go up and do that interlocutory appeal. So let's continue here. Yeah, it's not fair. That's why you just do it on appeal after the trial.
Around this time, were you making more than $1 million a year?
Around what time?
2011.
Yes.
2012.
Yes.
And you were still stealing money as well, correct?
Yes.
Can we at least agree that that's a lot of money?
over $1
Never
million.
mind, it's fine. Okay.
I think there's no question that's a lot of money.
Okay, good. We can agree on that. That's a lot of money, correct? I feel like we're struggling here. Were you living a wealthy lifestyle?
Statement, Your Honor.
Yeah.
Were you living a wealthy?
Is the judge even answering, or am I just not hearing it? Did you guys hear the judge even answer there? I didn't hear shit. I feel like he's just going.
Lifestyle.
I just don't know what you mean by wealthy.
Is this a hard question, Mr. Murdaugh?
Well, it's hard for me to know.
It's a subjective question. It is a subjective question. I actually think this is a fair response. Wealthy, you should ask wealthy, like, how much money do you have in the bank? Well, I didn't really have any money in the bank because I'm sending it all out, right? Or spending it, et cetera, et cetera. I thought there's an objection. Now, maybe they didn't say it clearly enough, asked and answered. This is fucking asked and answered. And this is on his defense attorney at this point to bring up. Because otherwise, this douchebag is going to continue to batter him with this question. The same question. But clearly, and the defense team may be reading this, this judge is extremely in the tank for the prosecution.
Exactly what you want, and it depends. I was spending money that wasn't mine, that I shouldn't have. I think that, we lived a lifestyle. I don't have an issue, if you want to call it wealthy.
All right. Would you concede with me that not all of this money was going to pills at this point in time?
No.
All this stolen money.
No, I doubt that it was.
Okay. And it was being used to support your wealthy lifestyle.
Well, I haven't looked at all these documents to know exactly what was being spent where, but here's what I do know. I know that I was making a bunch of money, and I should have had more money than I did. And I know that I was spending a bunch of money on pills, and I know that.
Okay.
I don't remember in 2011 if those I just can't remember.
So he was drugged out. I don't know what can some of y'all street pharmacists help a Korean out, because we don't know anything about this in Korea. How much money do you guys think he was spending? Like, can you guys give me an over under? Some of my street pharmacists over on Rumble, maybe you guys can help me out. Let's say this guy is really going in. Like, how much do we think he was actually spending legitimately? Like the real talk. How much do you think he was burning through? Are we talking like $100K a month? Like, really? In pills? Number came out during trial that he was spending on pills, though. How are you gonna have that number and track it? The drug dealer doesn't give you a fucking receipt. 500K a week, 500K a month on opiates. 50K a week, 50K a week, 50K a week. All right. You can't take 50K a week worth of pills and live. That's what Garrett Pace. That's what I was thinking. Like, I don't think you can take that much drugs in a week and not die. Like, I've seen people spend a lot of money on cocaine, but like, there's an upper limit. $450K in a week is impossible. More like a month. Yeah. 100K a month. All right. I could see that. So let's say 50 to 100K a month. I could see. Pill poppers don't pop pills alone. I guess you might be right. If he's buying for other people, then you might be able to convince me there. Yeah. People saying if you take 20 oxys a day, you're dead. I'm an ex-opiate addict. Trust me. I'll trust you on that one. I'm not trying to experiment with this stuff, guys. I'm long past that phase of my life where I need to experiment. The most I'll get into is whatever's legal in Thailand. I'll just say that. But, other than that, the only greens that I'm grifting are the greens that are paying me money. That's Field of Greens, baby. It's Field of Greens. The greens that are paying me money, I'll grift these greens. But yeah. We were saying I'm an ex-taker, you'd be dead. Yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you guys, because I like that's something I just didn't know about, and I just want to get facts on it. Because like honestly, you guys came up with those numbers a lot better and those facts a lot better than they did. And I feel like presenting that evidence and throwing it out there and being like, hey, yeah, this is the most that you could possibly be taking from that. That's very relevant to the case for the financial crimes. Of course, none of this proves murder. He could be an opiate abuser. That does not prove murder. I'll get this one before we start here. Squizgar2322 says, in the opening of Cross, he said something to the effect of, isn't it true that the first time you admitted you lied about being in the kennels was today on the stand? Fifth Amendment? No, he chose to take the stand. That's the problem, is that once you're on the stand and you testified to it, it would need to be the implication of another crime. And I thought he already admitted, from what I understood, that Jeff on direct said that in the beginning there, and I did miss that part, but it's in the beginning that he admitted to lying at the kennels. So I think he already got that one in there. Let's continue.
If
Don't think he can plead the
I
fifth.
spent money on
On most things, I don't think he can plead the fifth.
things, I don't dispute that either. I just haven't looked at the records.
Okay. But you would at least concede that the money you were stealing was going to support your ever-expanding wealthy lifestyle. Would you concede that?
Did all of the money I stole,
Any of it, Mr. Murdaugh?
any of it? Yeah, I would certainly agree that there was money that didn't go to buy just pills.
All right. And you would concede that even though you were generating millions of dollars in fees, that was not enough for you. Would you concede that?
If by concede that, you mean was I also stealing money that I shouldn't have? Yes, sir, I agree with that. I've said that repeatedly.
Yeah, and by the way, good comment here from Born a Hawkeye, who says, I'm disgusted that people do not understand net worth. This man is not of wealth. What about his portfolio? He spent his capital. You don't do this. Yeah, if you have no asset, if your assets are underwater with your liabilities, if you have, let's say you have a bunch of property. Yes, Moselle, it's a giant fucking ranch. It's huge. He's got beachfront property. It's got, property all over South Carolina. That's fine. But if he owes money on that, he actually doesn't owe anything. He doesn't own anything. His assets are worthless. If you have a car and you owe more on the car than the car is worth, you're underwater on that. You're in the negative. So, that's what I think people need to understand about these things. Is this guy could fairly say it was not wealthy. Now, I think where he was trying to trick him is say wealthy lifestyle. So maintain an image. I think that's more accurate, that you were trying to maintain the image of a wealthy family. I think that is correct. I think that is accurate, right? And a lot of people do that. That is the most common thing. They try to maintain the image, but they're not actually the thing, which is unfortunate.
Who were the Plowlers?
They were two young girls from Columbia.
They were underage when they became your clients?
Yes, sir.
Did they suffer a loss in their family as a result of an accident?
They did.
What loss did they suffer? Who died?
Their mother did.
And did you get a sizable recovery in the case, in that particular case related to that?
Yes, sir.
Do you remember how much that recovery was?
I don't.
Got any idea?
I know it was a significant settlement. I know it was a very good settlement, but
Millions of dollars?
oh yeah, it was millions of dollars. But whether it was, 2 million, I know it was significant. I don't know if it was 8 figures, but I know it was a significant settlement.
And was there a conservatorship for them because they were underage?
Once again, why do we give a fuck about the
There was a
conservatorship?
conservatorship.
Why do we care about the conservatorship in a
for
case
them,
that?
But I don't think the fact that they were underage is why there was a conservatorship.
Did he
You don't
murder
think it was
them?
because, at least in part, they were underage when the settlement was received?
No, that's not what I remember. But for purposes of your thing, Mr. Waters, I agree there was a conservator appointed.
Well, what is your memory of why the conservator was appointed?
My memory is that the father in this case who was the beneficiary or a big beneficiary in this, and who was the PR of the mother's case, was an undesirable witness. And there was testimony that it was testimony that he had hit his wife. And it was clear, we felt like we didn't want him to be the face of the lawsuit. So we appointed a conservator
Who was that?
for that purpose, is
Who was-
why I believe we appointed a conservator.
Okay. And who was that?
That was Russell Lafitte.
At Palmetto State Bank?
Yes, sir.
And after that, did you get Russell Lafitte to start loaning you money from the Plower Girls account that he was conservator for?
He loaned me money from the Plyler account. I don't know if I got him to do that.
Oh, you didn't talk to him about it? Y'all didn't talk about that at all?
No.
Yeah, this definitely, by the way, this definitely is something that's going to piss off people across class lines, because you know that the jury is going to be mostly working class or middle class at best, but probably working class people, the majority of the jury. So you're definitely going to gin up the class division. You're going to gin up the blue bloods versus the normal folks, which is something that it's everywhere in the world. That's the oldest trick in the book, rich versus poor. You can divide people that way, young versus old, right? City versus country. This is something that these divisions, these old divisions, and it's a prosecutor, they're allowing the good old boys on the prosecution to go down that road once again, to play all the tricks which violate due process. You're not supposed to be tried because people hate you for being rich. This is not Red Russia. This is the United States of America. This is not due process. This is not justice.
We did talk about it.
I mean, there's emails to that effect. Are you disputing that to this jury?
Mr. Waters, I'm not disputing. I'm just telling you that Russell Lafitte gave me a loan from the Plylers. Your question was, did I get him to do that? And I don't necessarily believe that to be accurate.
So who came up with the idea?
I don't know that it was come up with an idea. There was, I think that Russell felt like that it was a sound investment for those girls to charge me a higher interest rate when they weren't getting but so much interest somewhere else. So
What was that interest rate that y'all thought was such a good idea for these girls? Do you recall what it was?
I can't remember.
The reality is that you needed the money, and this was a convenient source to keep your massive cash flow going as early as 2011, 2012. Isn't that correct?
Well, this was a loan. Yes, sir. But exactly why it came from them versus the bank, I can't tell you the details without looking at all that. I can't tell you that off the top of my head.
And despite all you were earning, you would even send Russell emails saying, hey, transfer over $75,000 from the Plower account into my account, correct? You remember emails to that effect that you would have to him?
Do I remember an email to that effect? No, I don't remember that, but
Dispute that there were emails to that effect?
not if you say there were, Mr. Waters. I don't dispute that. I don't dispute any of this, that I took money that didn't belong to me, that I misled people.
I know
that
that you want
were-
the answer to be that simple. That's not what I'm at. We agree on that. We've agreed on that.
No, but you got a lot.
No,
But here's
sir,
the thing:
I-
if you're going to ask the same question, and here's the thing: if he's going to ask the same question, he's going to get the same answer. And Alex does a good job of sticking to the same answer because he's asking the same fucking question. So, just say the same thing. I don't think he should back down on that one.
I don't necessarily want the answer to be simple. I just want everybody to understand, I do not dispute that I stole money that was not my money, that I misled people to do that I misled people that trusted me to do that, and that what I did was terrible. I don't dispute that. It's just the way you're asking these questions, and, there's some things in there that I do take issue with.
Okay. Which part of what I just asked you about the Pliers do you take issue with? You take issue that y'all didn't conspire to do that, you and Russell? You
Yes.
take issue with that? Take issue with that. Okay.
I can tell you that Russell Lafitte never conspired with me to do anything. Whatever was done by me.
Okay. So you told the Plowler girls that you were borrowing money from their account? That,
No, I don't know. I don't know that I told
tell
them that.
Russell to tell them?
I don't recall. I don't believe so, but I can't sit here and tell you what I told him however many years ago.
Did you tell Russell he could borrow money from that account too?
I don't remember having any discussion with him about him borrowing money.
Was the supposed interest rate you were paying far lower than anything you could have gotten anywhere else?
What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Well, who
I
gives a
don't even
shit
know
about
the
your
interest
interest
I was
rate?
paying.
Okay. One thing's clear, you never told this to the Plowler girls, did you?
I would have thought the interest rate that I was paying was a little bit more than what a bank loan would have been, but I don't know that. I don't know that to be. I don't know what the interest rate was, so I don't know that for sure.
Naughty says, I'm about 45 minutes behind. Just got home from work in Oz. I see so much burden shifting on Twitter with Murdaugh. He doesn't need to prove anything. And that's the problem. That's a problem with the wine moms. It's a problem with a lot of the people out there. I'm going to say it, even Law and Cuck Network here, you know, you're watching it on, you look at those comments. They all believe that Murdaugh has to prove he's innocent. That's not how our justice system works. People fundamentally do not understand this.
When you stole the Badger money, how much did you steal from Arthur Badger that we talked about before, the ETS case?
I don't remember the exact amount.
Over $1.3 million, would you dispute that?
I don't dispute that.
And that was in addition to the $1.2 million in attorney's fees for his case alone that would have been attributed to you through the firm?
What I stole from Arthur Badger
Let me ask you this.
inappropriately was in addition to any fees that I legitimately earned. I shouldn't have stolen money from Arthur Badger. I misled him and I was wrong.
Did you speak with Russell Lafitte once you stole this money from Arthur Badger about structuring that $1.3 million that you stole in a manner so it appeared to be payments to the Plyler account? You understand the question?
No, sir. Say that again.
Did you have any conversations with Russell Lafitte about structuring this $1.3 million into multiple payments and then applying it to the Plyler account?
I've heard the testimony and I've seen some of
I'm
those
asking
records.
if you did. Did you have any conversations with Russell about that?
I had to.
Okay.
I had to have.
All right. You even asked him to recut the check, correct? To have Jeannie recut the check.
I've seen, I believe an email or a text to that effect.
So you don't dispute that?
No, I don't dispute that. What I dispute is if you're insinuating in any way, this was stuff that I did.
Okay.
I mean, this stuff that I did these things wrong. Russell Lafitte didn't do anything.
I'm not here to
And
talk about
what-
that. I'm just talking about what went on.
And I know, but you keep talking about what I did with Russell Lafitte. And what I want to let you know is that I did this. And I'm the one that took people's money that I shouldn't have taken, and that Russell Lafitte was not involved in helping me do that.
I just asked you a simple
Knowingly.
question.
If he did it without knowing it.
All right. So you sent him an email and then asked him to recut the check and have the check made out to various amounts short of that, and then applied those over time to give the illusion of payments to the Plyler account. Is that correct?
Mr.
Is
Waters,
that correct?
I don't know, but I'll tell you this. I
mean, TLDR, why does this matter? He did some accounting bullshit. It was scummy as hell. It was terrible, slimy, horrible behavior. Why does the exact method of him accounting matter? Why is it relevant to the murder? I don't understand how we got into a position where the judge that is so brain dead that he allowed all of this into the court. And he just said, yep, all these questions are totally fine. Allow all this in. Something is not right about that. It's just, yeah, it's not right. Sam Williams, founding father, said, bold prediction. He self-deletes before the end of trial. He's already tried once. Could be. We don't know. I think he would be at a high risk for that, to be completely honest.
I don't dispute what's in those emails or text as far as what I told Russell and as far as what I did to again, take money that didn't belong to me, that wasn't mine, and that I was wrong for taking. It's just the specifics of that you want me to give you details on, and I can't do that. I do not dispute what's in those texts or emails.
And did you steal that Badger money because you had to pay back the Plyler girls' money before they turned 18 and reached the age of majority? And Russell would then have to be held to account for that money that he had loaned to himself and to you.
First off, I don't know anything about any money that Russell loaned to himself. I only know about what he loaned to me. And I don't believe that me stealing Arthur Badger's money and taking that money that did not belong to me, that I wrongly took, had anything to do. I don't remember it having a relationship with having to pay back a loan or there being some time pressure to pay back a loan that he gave me on the Plyler conservatorship.
You don't remember that?
No, and I'm not saying that didn't happen. I'm saying that I don't remember. That's not the way I remember it, and I don't remember it.
Did you ultimately borrow $1 million roughly from the Plyler girls without their knowledge? Does that sound right? About $1 million in total?
If you tell me that's the number, I mean, that surprises me, but I don't dispute what's in the records, but I didn't believe I had a loan for, are you saying $1 million? I didn't believe that I had a loan. Mr. Waters, if that's what the records say, I don't dispute it, but that's not what I thought. I didn't think I had a $1 million loan from them.
Oh, by the way, good question. Why isn't he wearing a tie? You don't have to wear a tie in court. That's not required. As you guys see, I never wear a tie. And in Florida, when I was practicing, except for when I went to court and the attorneys were required to wear a tie. But as a witness, you do not have to wear a tie. It's not a thing. It's just people think it makes it look fancier. But if you're hot, and especially it's the South, you might not want to wear a tie. I can understand that.
But if that's what the records say, I don't dispute that. But I can tell you this, if I had $1 million loan from them, I don't remember that. And I may be confusing it with what a loan from the bank. But again, if that's what's in the records, I don't dispute it.
All right. So you have no memory whatsoever. And so for all you know, it's just a coincidence that the Plowers were about to turn 18 when you stole this Badger money and you applied a significant amount of it to pay that off before they turned 18. You don't have any memory of that.
No, I can tell you that was never an issue or motivation for me. Again, taking Arthur Badger's money that I shouldn't have taken, that didn't belong to me, and that I was wrong for. I don't remember a loan from the Plyler conservatorship as being motivation for that.
Why are they going into the motivation? Once again, they're going into the motivation for separate crimes which are not at trial here. I really am pushing to understand this. Yeah, and not only that, but he was clearly taking pills at the time.
Why I stole Arthur Badger's money? Just being a coincidence?
Why you applied it to the Plyler loans right before they turned 18.
No, I'm not saying is a coincidence or not a coincidence. What I'm saying is I don't remember that.
Okay.
And so I don't remember that being the motivation. If it was, I didn't know I had $1 million loan from the Plyler conservatorship, at least as I sit here today. But, I would have known I had a loan from somewhere. And if I took Arthur Badger's money and applied it to that, I mean, again, I stole money that didn't belong to me. I misled Arthur Badger to take that money, and I was wrong.
How many times have you practiced that answer before your testimony today? 'Cause you
I've
keep
never-
giving the same one
What
over and
the
over again.
I've never practiced that answer, but you keep asking me these questions, and I keep using that answer.
Let me show you what's been entered in evidence as states 321. You recognize generally that document.
I do.
And what is that?
This is the disbursement sheet on the Dion Martin case.
What happened to Deion Martin?
He got in a wreck.
Do you know his family?
Now it's gonna go to a car crash.
When he got in the wreck,
By the way, I don't like how the judge lets him fucking lean here. Like, I don't like this douchebag lean he's got going on here against the pole or whatever. Is he like he's inside of the door frame, right? And I think he knows, by the way, where the camera cut is. So I think he's doing this intentionally to game the camera angle. Because, by the way, I think they know when they're going to do something and it's going to show up or it's going to get there. So I think he's doing this intentionally so he can kind of be in that field of view for the camera. Not asking to approach, just doing it every single time. Completely roaming around, approaching the witness. I don't like it. It's very much speaks to his relationship with this judge, that he just walks all over this judge.
Prior to him getting in the room.
I knew who his family was, but prior to getting in the wreck. But after he got in this wreck, I became very close with his family.
Came very close with his family. And Deion suffered some pretty severe injuries, correct?
Dion was hurt bad. Yes.
Including an injury to his head.
I heard you say that the other day. I don't specifically remember Dion having a head injury. I believe Dion had more orthopedic injuries, but he may have had some injury to his head.
You met with him on a number of occasions?
Yes, I met with him on a number of occasions.
Met with his parents on a number of occasions?
About Dion,
About the case, while the case was going on.
I don't know if I met with his parents about Dion's case, but I know I met with Dion, and I may have met with his parents if they say that. I mean, his dad's one of the most honorable fellows that I know. If he says I met with him, I certainly believe that.
But you said you became close with them, correct? Close with the parents?
I consider Dion's, yes, I think the world of his dad and his mom and Dion.
What was the recovery that was obtained in Dion's case? I'll show it to you.
Let's see, it looks like recovery, $2 million. Actually, this is let's see, I know it was $2 million, but I believe the recovery was less than $2 million. I believe the recovery was less than $2 million. I believe that I said it was $2 million.
Doesn't matter if it's 3 or 4 or 5. What's the price for shooting your son and your
I can't remember exactly what the recovery is, but I know it was less than $2 million.
death?
And I know that I
Blowing your son's brains
misstated
out.
it as $2 million.
Would you do that for 5 million? Would you do it for 2 or 3 or 4? What's the price for that? I mean, relate it back, tie it together. The picture is not there.
So you falsified the paperwork, correct?
It appears that I put inaccurate information on the paperwork. Yes, sir.
You put inaccurate information. You falsified it, right?
If you like that word, yes, sir.
All right. And
By the way, this is going to be all day today.
that's
When they
that right
go into
there
this.
where you put that $500,000 on there, correct? Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have the envelope, please?
I'm sorry, Mr. Waters, what was the question?
Let's get the Elmo out and then I'll show you.
Okay, while they're doing that, let me actually take this down for 2 seconds and grab some super chats or some Rumble questions, or not locals rather. So many platforms, so much time. So CLS says, one thing I've learned from watching these trials is the chance of getting a fair trial is very low. That should concern everyone. I absolutely 100% agree. What you learn from these trials, what we're learning from these situations, all of them today, whether it was Tate, Trump, or Murdaugh, is this is how your due process is under attack in 2023. And this is why I'm on the internet. It's why I cover these things, because we need people speaking up and standing out for literally just having a fair trial. Your right to a fair trial. Your right, if you are accused, to confront the people you are being accused by, right? To stand across from them, to have the jury evaluate that, to look at the evidence, to not be judged in social media, not be judged by a Netflix documentary, not be judged outside of reality, or a Vice documentary in the case of Andrew Tate. That one was a joke. Lots of social media out there wants to rule you innocent or guilty, but that's not how it really works, right? You know, Tiger King, right? He's not guilty or innocent because of the show. He's guilty or innocent because of the facts that were brought in court. We would hope so. And there was a good question. Why? Can you briefly explain why the judge is allowed to be so biased? The judge is allowed to be that way because that's what we've allowed him to become. I mean, he's on the bench. He hasn't been removed. He hasn't been overruled. He is afraid of being overruled. But I think that he's allowing everything in on the false premise that his best bet is to go with the prosecution, is to side with the prosecution on this one. Maybe he's reading the local sentiment. Maybe he's, just hates the Murdaughs. We don't know what his personal agenda is here, but there's clearly a bias. And by the way, in many cases, there's a bias. It can be pro-prosecution or pro-defense, but oftentimes the judges can be biased. Now, small bias can be overcome, but a significant bias like this is very detrimental to due process. People say, oh, watch the documentary, listen to the podcast. You'll know he's guilty. I always say, I don't give a fuck about the documentary or the podcast. They have biases. They have an agenda. They have a motive. And none of that should be admissible in court. Most of that isn't admissible in court. That's why they have to make the documentary or the podcast, because they cannot present it that way in court. It's kind of the thing. The last one from locals was from Ben SC for $1, who said 2 to 3K a week in pills is possible, especially if his supplier knew what he had. The market can get really ugly once he's hooked. Okay. So maybe his pusher got him hooked and then up the price. Possible. But thank you guys for that. All right, let's pull this thing back up here. And we are almost through here. Let's get this evidence up.
That I was stealing his money, $500,000.
Were you not inflating your fees with that one?
I mean,
You don't remember?
I know that I inflated the fees like I just talked about, but I believe go back to that top of that thing, I believe what I must have done with the structured annuity is I had that $500,000 check, and I must have had that made to forge, as you've heard, to steal that money from Dion Martin.
All right, down at the bottom.
That I shouldn't have.
Is that your signature down there?
It is.
Is that Dion Martin's signature on the other side? You dispute that?
No, I don't dispute that.
So you would have sat down with Dion Martin, gone over this document with him, and convinced him that there was nothing amiss here?
Again, I don't know if I went over the document with him or not, but I certainly misled Dion Martin. I certainly lied to Dion Martin. I certainly took money from Dion Martin that did not belong to me, and I shouldn't have done it.
You don't specifically remember talking to Dion. There was nothing in you that causes you to remember talking with Dion, sitting there with this document in front of him, as you looked him in the eye, knowing that you were lying to him the whole time. You don't even remember that? Nothing in you that causes you to remember that?
To specifically remember.
I think he knows the clock is getting low and the day is almost finished here, so he's trying to amp up. And he actually does that a lot. He tries to become more animated towards the end because he knows it's getting towards the end, so he tries to be a little bit more animated to that in there. But he's trying to kind of insinuate that Murdaugh is answering in a disingenuous way.
I'm not sure that I did sit down with Dion Martin, but I certainly, Mr. Waters, I misled Dion Martin. I lied to Dion Martin. I took Dion Martin's money when I shouldn't have.
Well, let me ask you this. Of all the people on here, all these exhibits, do you have any independent recollection of a time where you sat down and looked that person in the eye and you were lying to them and convincing them that everything was okay while you stole their money? Do you remember it, even one of them?
I'm sure I do.
Okay, well, tell us about one.
I mean, you have to show me, you have to give me.
I'm asking you if you remember one time where you're sitting there in your heart, looking somebody in the eye, knowing you're stealing from them, and you remember it.
I remember stealing from people. I remember lying to people, and I remember misleading people. For me to tell you that I sat down with each one of these people,
I'm asking you to tell me about just one conversation, one time where you recall looking somebody in the eye and convincing them with your lies that nothing was amiss. One conversation.
there were plenty of conversations where I looked people in the eye and I lied to them. There were plenty of times where I took money that I shouldn't have taken. There were plenty of times where I stole money. For me to sit and tell you a specific time that I sat down with a specific document and what exactly was said, if you ask me questions, but I can't remember sitting down with Dion on a.
They certainly remember it, don't they, Mr. Murdaugh?
I don't know if they do or not, but I would assume so.
But you can't tell us one time where it just sticks out in your memory where you're like, I'm pulling a fast one right now.
Oh, no.
Or anything, whatever reaction you had.
Oh, no.
So he's trying to get him back into a state of mind that he's manufacturing. And of course, he's going to have to say no to that.
Remember a single one?
No, sir, that's not correct. I can remember a lot of times where I lied to my clients, I misled my clients, and I stole money from my clients in conversations. But for me to sit and tell you that I had a conversation about this particular document, I don't dispute it.
I know you don't dispute it, Mr. Murdaugh. You've said that 100 times.
Well, so you've asked the question 100 times. So, I mean, it's kind of like you're getting what you get, you know, and they should be, I will say the defense team should be doing a little bit more asked and answered. They feel a little lazy here, but maybe it's a strategy of saying the nothing to hide strategy. If you guys remember, Alex Murdaugh's doing it now, but with Rittenhouse, remember Rittenhouse, guys? Remember how we all got mad about Rittenhouse and there weren't that many objections? And it was sort of the, we got nothing to hide. And when your attorneys start objecting, it makes it seem like they got you and there's something to hide. So maybe the asked and answered, but I think there is a point at which it helps out the jury because the jury's on your side. They're like, bro, he's asking the same question. They're like, asked and answered, Judge. He's asked us 16 times. So there's a point at which you got to get up there and throw it out.
But you can't recall for this jury one of these people looking them in the eye while you lied to them. You can't recall a single one. I've asked you this 3 times now.
Oh, I promise
Asked
you.
and answered.
Your Honor, asked and answered 3 times.
Did he say it? Did he say, hold on. Did he say asked and answered to his own question? Let's rewind that. Sorry, but I got to hear that again real quick. So I think he just said asked and answered. He just asked and
This
answered
particular
himself.
document, I don't dispute it.
I know you don't dispute it, Mr. Murdaugh. You've said that 100 times, haven't you?
What?
But you can't recall for this jury one of these people looking them in the eye while you lied to them. You can't recall a single one. I've asked you this 3 times now.
Oh, I promise
Asked
you.
and answered.
Your Honor, asked and answered 3 times.
Well, here,
He did it. He objected to his own question. He objected to his own question. He admitted just naturally. It's asked and answered. This just shows this right here. These moments like this in this trial show how this trial, the Murdaugh trial, is an absolute joke It is an aberration of justice. It is an injustice. It is a sham of due process. This judge is a disgrace, is disgusting for allowing this to proceed in front of him. He's seeing it happening and he's not intervening. That is his job. When you are in charge at a workplace, the manager can't say, oh, well, it wasn't me. That's your job. Manage it. The fact that we have allowed for judges like this to slip through the cracks is embarrassing. Frankly, it's embarrassing. And South Carolina should be embarrassed of this trial. Let's continue. They're laughing because it's so fucking ridiculous. They're laughing because it's ridiculous.
The point's made, isn't it, Mr. Murdaugh?
I don't know if your point's made or not, but here's
You don't know that either, do you?
here's what I will say again. I remember lying to clients of mine. I did it on more than one occasion. I took their money when I shouldn't have taken it. I'm sure that I looked them in the eye. I'm sure that I misled them. But I can't tell you exactly when those occurred 12 years ago is the only point. I don't dispute that they occurred. I don't dispute that everything about what I did was wrong. But I can't sit and tell you the specific details that you're wanting me to give you.
We could just write that answer down on a sheet of paper and you could hold it up each time you want to say that, couldn't we, Mr. Murdaugh?
If
Well, that's ridiculous.
Objection is overruled.
if that's what you
You
want to do.
overruled that objection? That is literally a mockery of the court. You cannot hold up a piece of paper with that answer. That's not. Are you kidding me? Are you trying to make this into a joke? Do you believe this is a joke? Wow.
Mr. Waters, but I'm trying to answer your question.
All right. These were real people you were dealing with, right?
Absolutely. They were,
I
you know what?
know you want to give that answer, but these were real people, aren't they?
Nah, they're very real people. And, you know, one of the saddest parts of this whole thing is, you know, they're people that I still care about, and I did them this way. You know, that's what I was meaning in that text that you made an issue about to Annette Griswold. And it was a lot talking about my partners, but it was a lot talking about these people. I mean, I know the people that I did wrong and that I hurt, and that I stole from. I mean, they're people that I think a lot of. And
Now, they didn't know.
hang on. I want to say one more thing. And there's no question that the actions that I did, the things that I did wrong, hurt a lot of the people that I care about the most. And I did a lot of damage. And I wreaked a lot of havoc. That
A lot of damage and wreaked a lot of havoc. I hear you.
there's no question about
Yeah,
it.
I'll show you what's been marked as States 315. See if you recognize that.
I do.
Which case is this?
This is Elise Mallory.
And what happened in this case?
Interesting.
I stole her money.
What happened, though, with the underlying case? Can you tell the jury that? Do you remember that?
I believe it was Miss Taylor, Miss Mallory's.
It's definitely.
I believe it was her daughter. It might have been her granddaughter, but I believe it was her daughter. Was in a wreck
Did she die?
and she got killed.
And Miss Mallory came to you for help?
She did.
You remember that one
I
at
do.
all?
I remember.
Okay, we remember one now.
Oh no, Mr. Waters, I remember all of these people.
Okay.
It's not that I don't remember them. You're just asking me details about conversations.
Okay, great.
I can promise you, I remember all of these people that I did wrong.
All right, and you stole all of the money, didn't you? In
I,
this
s-
case?
I s- I stole all of the money, most of the money that I've been accused of stealing, I stole.
No, I mean, you stole every single dime of the recovery. She didn't get one dime. Isn't that right?
I have to look at the records, but if
You
that's
credited yourself with legal fees and then you stole all the rest of the money, correct?
I don't dispute that. If,
All right.
if you
Tell
let
me
me see
about, first of all, tell me about Miss Mallory. So she lost her daughter, correct? Is that correct?
that is correct.
By the way, if y'all aren't getting the memo here, he's fucked on the financial crimes. By the way, we're over 2 hours. So if you like uncensored after 2 hours action, smash that like button, guys. Make sure you're subscribed too. We are on a hunt for 100K. We just hit 90K. I feel like we're gonna have to do a little celebration for 90, just a little, flex the bows there. But we're on a hunt for 100 here, and I appreciate all y'all writing out with me. So if y'all could smash a like button, that'd be much appreciated. That does a lot for me in the algos, particularly with these live streams. Let's go on here.
She came to you for
His
help, is
daughter,
that correct?
Granddaughter, but
All right,
one.
all right. And she came to you for help, correct?
Yes, sir, I agree with you on that.
Very, very sweet lady, correct?
Very sweet lady.
All right. Tell me about your conversation when you looked her in the eye and lied to her while you were stealing every dime of the money.
This is a perfect example, Mr. Waters. I stole her money. I did her wrong, but I don't even believe that Elise Mallory was there when I stole that money. If you look at that disbursement sheet, I don't even believe I ever showed that to her.
You don't remember having any conversations with her when you lied with her about this case while you were stealing all her money?
I don't think I did in this case. I don't think I had any meetings with her. I think I stole her money, and I don't believe that I had a meeting with her.
So again, you can't tell us one conversation you have with any of these people when you look them in the eye and convince them that you were doing them right, that you were telling the truth.
That's not true, Mr. Waters. I remember a lot of those conversations. I remember a lot of them.
Okay. All right. You just testified you remember a lot of them. I've been asking you now for the past 10 minutes to tell me about one of them where it's stuck in your heart,
There are a lot of
stuck in your brain.
There are a lot of conversations I had where I misled my clients and I stole their money, where they trusted me. And I remember them.
Okay. So
But you keep-
can you tell me one? Tell me how it went down, what you said, how you convinced them, how you looked them in the eye, how you made them believe, how you used your
He needs
skills
to
as a
he needs
power
to see
convince
right
them.
here while he's going off and getting all deranged. He needs to just object over this. He does need to object over this guy. I mean, he's looking like a clown. I get it, but he should assert himself right here.
Can you just tell me about one of those? What was going through your head when you did it?
Your Honor, objection under Rule 403. We've been going over and over and over this.
Objection is overruled.
See, this is exactly why this judge is literally deaf. He's literally the corpse, But unlike the God Emperor of Mankind in 40K, he's not even guiding the Astronomicon here. He's just lost. He's out there. His head is in Margaritaville. I don't know where it is, but it's not on this earth and in this courtroom.
What's your question, Mr. Waters?
Can you tell me about one of the conversations you had with all of these people? Just one.
I can
where
tell you-
what was
excuse
going
me.
through your head and how it went down when you sat there and looked them in the eye and convinced them that you were doing them right while you were lying to them and stealing their money.
Yes, sir. I had a lot of conversations with a lot of my clients that I cared about. And so I will tell you that I had conversations with them where I misled them and I lied to them and I took their money. And that was a number of times.
Okay.
But you're asking me,
Just one specific one, Mr. Murdaugh?
every single one of these clients I would have had conversations with at some
It's
point.
fine, it's
But
fine.
this particular, like Mr. Waters, that disbursement sheet, there was never a sit down with Miss Mallory about the dispersing the money.
You don't recall talking to her about the status of her case and telling her lies and convincing her that you were on her side. You don't remember that.
No, I definitely remember that, but that's not what you
Tell me
asked
about
me. I had numerous conversations with Miss Mallory, about this case. But the fact is you were asking me about me sitting down with this disbursement sheet, looking her in the eye and convincing her. And I'm telling you that didn't happen in this case. Now, I had a lot of conversations with her where I misled her, Mr. Waters, where I lied to her
Tell me about one. Tell me how it went down.
where
We're going to recess for the day. and resume
Yeah, I think this is a good
9:30.
one.
Tomorrow morning, everyone remains seated while the jury leaves.
So the one good call, the only good thing I got coming out of this was that the judge dismissed at a good point. When it was getting to the point where it's just asked and answered, same bullshit over and over again. Only at that point dismissing seems legitimate. But otherwise, this is just absolutely a mess. Let me get two of these super chats. So Bible Lover saying, finally capturing a live stream. Awesome. Welcome. Your recent streams are getting much better and better. Keep it up with the good work. Stay unbreaded, sharp, and true. Yeah, I'm trying to be more focused in what I'm doing. Look, I'm gonna. Did you guys? Let me do a little poll in the chat. You know, like or not like. Did you enjoy watching just a section of the trial? Yes or no? Simple thing. If you guys enjoy like just the snippets, just like the one piece, a little bit of a highlight, I might try to do that. Maybe I'll even try to keep it a little bit shorter. Maybe we'll do like 15 minutes instead of 30 or whatever else. But it might have been a little bit more than 30. But that being said, I am trying to do better and better. And I'm trying to do different types of content. I'm trying to make sure that I have some streams, but I'm also having some pre-recorded videos out, some stuff that I can get out more information to you guys a little bit quicker. Sometimes setting up a stream takes longer and I can just get out a video quicker to you guys. So I'm trying to figure out the better schedule, but thank you. And I try to get information out at all different times of the day for you guys. So appreciate that. And I will always stay unbreaded. Shadow Goof says, hearing my name over and over, Dion, I see myself. Yes, the Shadow of the Goof. I forget what mobile suit game I would play the Goof in a lot. But I did win a lot when I played the Goof. The Goof was like really overpowered with its sword, if I remember correctly. Mackenzie Carter, Cameron says, cake and eating it too. One hand state is saying, Alex Murdaugh is so powerful, he has law enforcement sled wrapped around his finger, yet the evidence the state is presenting is shoddy and now sled should be trusted. It's take with one hand, remove with another. It's so weird, this story, this picture of Alex Murdaugh they're trying to paint. Absolutely. It doesn't square with a motive of somebody who kills their son and shoots them in the head, like blows their brains out in an awkward position. Like they'd have to like get him into that position. It's not a mistaken shot. That's an execution style shot, especially for a person of Alex Murdaugh's size because of where the gun was placed to blow his brains out. Let's see, but appreciate that. Eric V said, thank you for the entertaining stream. Glad I caught you. Live in peace, brother. Hey, I'm glad you guys like this. Are you guys liking the late night stream? Maybe I got to bring back the late night stream. But appreciate you, Eric V. And Murdaugh said, apologize if you caused issues. You did not. Thank you. Welcome. Everybody is welcome here. If I get in a back and forth with you guys, whether it's here on Locals, Rumble, anywhere else, it's because I'm trying to have a conversation with you. I'm not mad at y'all. Like, it really is not, the whole point of having different opinions and that being a bad thing, that's not a bad thing. And in fact, in this case, Born a Hawkeye, we had the same opinion. I was just trying to clarify that I agreed with you. Like, I actually really agreed with you about money. So I don't worry about disagreements, guys. That's perfectly fine. Only in this weird communist mindset, and it's not even old school commie, it's like new school, where you got to think right in line to the current thing. That's something I'm seeing, and it's getting ported over into all realms of life, right, left, everything else, where you got to think the same thing or you're out. We need to get away from that. We need to say, hey, look, you think this, I think this. That's totally fine. I'm okay with it. I really don't care. It's totally fine. And you're welcome on my channel. I'm clicking yes, though I think the prosecution are a bunch of ducking, can't understand normal thinking. Yeah, they're pretty fucking dumb. They're pretty fucking dumb. I can say that after 2 hours. Ben says over on Locals, Cases such as this, I will watch the highlight and recaps. I knew this was going to be a wallow through the Kragmar before it started. Do you remember when I said this was the modern version of Who Shot JR? Oh yeah, this is what's always going to be slow. And as soon as they went to financial crimes, huge problem. Whoa, so 150 of you voted, and almost all of you, 91%, 92%, said you enjoyed watching just a section. So that's what I'm going to keep doing then on the channel, just watching pieces of this, not the whole thing. So I will not be joining any streams. I may pop in if I have time. If I pop in and say hello, it would be with Legal Vices, just because he's my homeboy. But that's like me popping in for 30 minutes or an hour just to say hello and then popping off. I would rather watch it on my own time, focus on the good stuff, and not waste it on bad lines of questioning, on shit, on stuff that's going over irrelevant financial crimes. So here's what I'm going to look for today. Today, I'm going to look for what are we talking about the actual crime and motive. So I'm going to go back and review, when did they start talking about Paul? When did they start talking about Maggie? When did they start asking questions about his motive for killing those two? I think that so far, Alex Murdaugh, Big Red, has done a pretty decent job on the stand. He's done as good as you can do on the stand. Of course, they're going to go through this emotional manipulation. They're going to make him look like shit. They're going to drag out every single negative detail in painful degree. Do not be surprised if this goes over a day on cross. Do not be surprised if all of today and even a bit of tomorrow is cross. Would not be surprised on that. This is the prosecution's best chance to prove their case. It shows how weak their case is, but it is the best chance for them to prove their case, which is ridiculous that we're at this point. But yeah, I totally agree. We need to get back. Snoopy's right here. This is a great comment. We can think differently and have different opinions and still interact and respect each other and get back that as a society. Say, hey, look, I still respect the people across from me, even if they're living completely different than me, even if I think that the way they're thinking, they're living is foolish. As long as they're respecting my rights and we have common beliefs and things we stand for and can unite together over, I'm fine. And in America, that was always our Constitution and our rights: freedom of speech, freedom of religion, free exercise, freedom of the press, and due process. And those are the things I thought we all agreed on. And the fact that we're having to fight tooth and nail for the core values of our society is frankly scary. It's terrifying. But no matter where I am in the world, whether I'm here in Korea or I was in Thailand last week, or I'll be in Japan very soon as well for a bit again, I will always be standing up for those rights, always be speaking those truths until they put me away in some dark corner. But until then, guys, take care. Appreciate y'all. Locals people, I'm going to do a chat for y'all maybe this weekend. I'm thinking I'm going to do one, a special weekend edition for locals. So that's my plan there. But until then, guys, stay based. Make sure you smash that like button, and I will catch you later. Peace.
Wow.